Let me ask you something quietly. Have you ever noticed that some people don't look at you the way they look at everyone else? Not with admiration, not with anger, but with a kind of awareness they can't explain. As if they sense something about you before you ever speak. If this video found you in a quiet moment when the world is finally silent and your thoughts are louder than your phone, I want you to listen carefully, because this message is not about being special, it is about being trusted. In Islam, Allah does not choose a soul to make it shine, He chooses a soul to make it carry weight. The weight of awareness, the weight of restraint, the weight of walking a path most people never see. And when Allah places that weight inside a heart, people begin to feel it, even if they don't have words for it. Tonight, I'm not going to tell you 8 signs to impress you. I'm going to tell you 8 signs that may explain why your life has felt heavier, quieter, and deeper than the lives around you. So don't listen with pride. Listen with humility. Because if even one of these signs touches your heart, it may not be because you are chosen above others. It may be because Allah is calling you to become more careful, more sincere, and more accountable than you've ever been before. Stay with me. What you're about to hear is not meant for everyone. It's meant for the one who feels different, but never understood why. Before you speak, people already feel something different about you. There is a moment that happens before any real conversation begins. It is so quiet that most people never notice it. It comes before greetings, before questions, before even a smile. It is the moment when 2 hearts become aware of each other's presence. You may think nothing is happening yet, but something already is. When you enter a space, something in the atmosphere changes. Not loudly, not dramatically, just gently. People might sit up a little straighter. They might look at you more carefully. They might pause before speaking, even if they do not know why. This is not because you demand attention, it is because your presence carries a certain feeling with it. In Islam, the heart is not just a physical organ. It is the center of awareness. It is where intention lives. It is where sincerity grows. And when Allah places light inside a heart, that light does not stay hidden. It does not shine like a lamp for the world to see, but it moves quietly, like warmth in a cold room. People feel it before they understand it. You may notice that when you sit with someone, the conversation slows down. It becomes less rushed. They choose their words more carefully. They may even speak more honestly than they planned. This is not because you are asking deep questions. It is because something about your presence makes shallow answers feel out of place. There are people who fill a room with noise, and there are people who fill a room with calm. Allah often gives calm to those whose hearts have learned how to be still. Still through difficulty. Still through disappointment. Still through moments when they wanted to react, but chose to reflect instead. That stillness becomes something others can sense. Late at night, when the world becomes quieter and distractions fade, this becomes even clearer. During the day, people can hide behind their routines, their phones, their laughter, their work. But when the night comes, hearts become softer, thoughts become heavier. And in that softness, people feel presence more deeply. If you have ever noticed that someone becomes more thoughtful around you in those moments, more open, more gentle, it is often because your heart is speaking without your mouth ever moving. This does not mean you are perfect. It does not mean you are free from struggles. In fact, it often means the opposite. It means you have walked through things that taught your heart how to slow down, how to listen, how to feel without rushing to fix or defend. Allah sometimes shapes a soul by letting it experience silence, loss, or waiting. These experiences strip away the need to perform for the world. They leave behind something more honest, more grounded, more real. And real hearts recognize each other. You may not see this quality in yourself. Most people who carry it do not. They simply try to move through life with sincerity. They try to be careful with their words. They try to be gentle with people's feelings. They try to keep their connection with Allah private and clean. But others notice. They may not say, "You feel different." They may not have words for it. Instead, they show it in small ways. They lower their voice. They pause before joking. They look at you when they are unsure. They come to you when they are tired of pretending. This is often the quiet sign that Allah has placed something in your heart that goes beyond personality. It is not charm. It is not confidence. It is not strength in the loud sense. It is a kind of spiritual weight, a sense that you are present, not just physically, but inwardly. And this is where responsibility begins. Because when Allah gives a person this kind of presence, He also watches how they use it. Do they use it to make others feel safe or small? Do they use it to listen or to dominate? Do they use it to bring hearts closer to peace or closer to pride? So if you recognize this sign in yourself, do not let it make you feel elevated above anyone. Let it make you careful. Let it make you humble. Let it make you grateful. Ask Allah to keep your heart clean. Ask Him to protect you from using what He gave you for anything other than good. And ask Him to make your presence a place where tired souls can rest, even if only for a moment. Because the true beauty of this sign is not that people feel something when you enter a room. The true beauty is that Allah sees your heart before you ever speak. Your character is tested because Allah is preparing you for a heavier role. There is a kind of tiredness that does not come from the body. It comes from always being the one who has to hold themselves together. Always being the one who has to choose patience when every part of you wants to speak back. Always being the one who has to stay calm when others are allowed to fall apart. If you feel this kind of tiredness, it is often because your character has been placed under a weight that not everyone is asked to carry. You may have noticed that life seems to press you more than it presses others. People misunderstand you. Situations test your honesty. Moments appear that push your temper, your trust, and your mercy. And sometimes you wonder quietly, why does this keep happening to me? Why can't things just be simple? In Islam, Allah does not test a soul without purpose. He does not place weight on a heart unless that heart has the ability to grow stronger under it. But when you are inside the test, it rarely feels like growth. It feels like pressure. It feels like being singled out. It feels like being asked to rise when you just want to rest. Late at night, when you replay your day in your mind, you may remember the moment you held your tongue instead of defending yourself, the moment you forgave instead of exposing, the moment you stayed quiet instead of proving you were right. These moments may feel small, but in the sight of Allah, they are heavy. Because character is not built in the big public actions, it is built in the private choices no one applauds. Allah often prepares a person for a heavier role by teaching them how to carry invisible burdens, the burden of restraint, the burden of sincerity, the burden of being fair even when it would be easier to be harsh. You may notice that others are allowed to react freely, to speak without thinking, to walk away without caring. But when you do the same, it feels wrong inside. Your heart does not settle. Something in you pulls you back toward a higher standard, even when no one is watching. This is not because you are trying to be better than anyone. It is because Allah is shaping you to be more aware of yourself. Sometimes He places you in situations where you are misunderstood on purpose. Not to hurt you, but to see what you will do when your image is not protected. Will you chase your reputation, or will you trust that Allah sees the truth? Sometimes He places you around people who take more than they give, not to drain you, but to teach you the difference between being kind and being careless with your own heart. These lessons do not feel gentle when they happen. They feel sharp, they feel unfair, they feel lonely, but over time, they carve something inside you that comfort alone never could. You begin to recognize your own reactions before they turn into actions. You begin to notice your own intentions before they turn into words. You start to see the space between what you feel and what you choose. And in that space, your character is being formed. This is why you may feel older than your age, wiser than your years, heavier in your thinking than those around you. It is not because life has been kind to you, it is often because life has been honest with you. Allah sometimes teaches a soul through experience rather than explanation. And as these tests repeat, something quiet begins to grow. You start to trust your own restraint. You start to value your own integrity. You begin to realize that being able to walk away with your heart clean is more powerful than winning any argument. People may never know how many times you chose the harder path. They may never see the moments you cried in private and stood steady in public. But Allah knows. And this is where the heavier role begins to make sense. A person who has learned how to govern themselves becomes someone others can lean on. A heart that has learned how to stay steady in its own storms becomes a place of calm in someone else's. So, if your life feels like a long series of character tests, do not assume it means you are failing. Sometimes it means you are being trusted. Trusted to carry more awareness, more responsibility, more light. But with that trust comes a reminder. Never let the weight you carry turn into pride. Never let the strength you develop turn into hardness. Stay soft, even as you become strong. Ask Allah, in your quiet moments, to keep your heart gentle while He makes it firm, to keep your intentions clean while He gives you endurance, to make you someone who does not just survive the test, but becomes a source of peace because of it. Because in the end, the true role Allah prepares a soul for is not to stand above others. It is to stand steady when others are struggling to stand at all. People unload their secrets on you without planning to. There is a pattern in your life that you may not have chosen, but it keeps choosing you. A conversation begins with something simple, a comment about the day, a small complaint, a casual question, and then, without warning, the tone shifts. The person pauses. Their voice becomes quieter, their words slow down, and suddenly they are telling you something they have not told anyone else. You did not ask for it. You did not guide the conversation there. It simply arrived in your hands. This happens because not every soul feels safe everywhere. Most people carry parts of themselves that they hide from the world. Regrets they do not want to explain. Fears they do not want to admit. Pain they do not want to relive. And they walk through their days wearing a version of themselves that feels acceptable. But sometimes they sit in front of someone whose presence does not demand a performance. In Islam, there is a deep understanding that hearts recognize what is sincere. A heart that is not trying to impress, not trying to control, not trying to use. When Allah gives a person this kind of inner stillness, others feel it before they can name it. You may notice that when someone speaks to you, they feel less rushed. They stop checking their phone. They stop scanning the room. Their attention settles. Something in them decides, I can be real here. And in that moment, their truth begins to come out. Late at night, when the world is quieter and people are tired of holding themselves together, this becomes even stronger. The walls they build during the day grow thinner. Their heart becomes heavier. Their thoughts become louder. And when they find someone who feels steady, they lean without realizing they are leaning. This is not because you have all the answers. It is often because you do not rush to give them. There is a kind of listening that feels rare in this world. Listening without interrupting, without correcting, without turning the moment back toward yourself. When Allah places this quality inside a person, others feel honored by it. even if they do not consciously understand why. You may find yourself carrying stories that do not belong to you, memories that are not yours, emotions that came from someone else's life. This can feel heavy, especially when you are already carrying your own struggles. And this is where the responsibility of this sign becomes clear. Because being trusted with someone's hidden truth is not a small thing. In Islam, trust is sacred. Amana is not just about money or promises, it is about hearts. It is about what someone places in your care when they choose to be vulnerable. Allah is watching how you hold what people give you. Do you treat their pain gently, or do you turn it into something to talk about later? Do you protect their dignity, or do you use their weakness to feel strong? Do you make space for their feelings, or do you dismiss them when they become inconvenient? You may notice that people come back to you after opening up, not because you fixed their problem, but because you did not make them feel small for having one. Sometimes, all a heart needs is to be seen without being judged. But this gift also comes with a cost. You may feel emotionally tired more often than others. You may feel full of things you never experienced yourself. You may find that you need more quiet time, more distance, more connection with Allah, just to feel balanced again. This is not weakness. This is the weight of carrying more than just your own life. Allah often gives this role to people who have learned how to sit with their own pain without running from it. Because a person who can face their own heart becomes someone others trust with theirs. But remember this, gently and clearly. You are not meant to replace Allah in anyone's life. You can listen, you can support, you can remind, but you cannot carry what only Allah is meant to carry. So, when people place their secrets in your hands, place them back into the hands of Allah in your private prayers. Ask Him to heal what you heard. Ask Him to guide what you could not fix. Ask Him to protect both their heart and yours. If this sign feels familiar to you, let it make you careful, not proud. Careful with your words. Careful with your silence. Careful with how you speak about people when they are not present, because the true measure of this sign is not how many people trust you. It is how faithfully you honor that trust when no one else is watching. And in the quiet moments, when you finally sit alone with Allah, let your heart rest in this. The one who allowed others to lean on you is the same one who invites you to lean on Him. Do not forget to do so. You become a quiet standard others measure themselves against. There is a kind of influence that does not come from being loud. It does not come from giving speeches, correcting people, or trying to lead. It comes from simply being consistent in who you are, even when no one is paying attention. You may not see it, but people notice how you move through life. They notice how you react when something goes wrong. They notice how you speak when you are tired, disappointed, or misunderstood. They notice what you do when you could easily take the easy path, but choose the honest one instead. And over time, without you ever meaning for it to happen, your life becomes a reference point. Not a public example, a quiet one. In Islam, actions speak long before words ever do. A person's character is not defined by what they say in moments of comfort, but by how they behave in moments of pressure. And when Allah places sincerity in a heart, that sincerity shows itself in small, ordinary choices. The way you treat someone who cannot benefit you, the way you speak about someone who is not present, the way you handle a mistake that no one else noticed. These moments pass quickly, but they leave a mark. Late at night, when people sit alone with their thoughts, they often replay their own day. They think about what they said, what they avoided, what they did not have the courage to do. And sometimes, without realizing it, they think about you. They remember how you handled a similar moment, how you stayed calm when things became tense, how you stayed respectful when it would have been easier to become sharp, how you walked away from something that did not feel right, even if it meant standing alone. You did not know they were watching, but hearts notice what eyes do not always show. This is how a person becomes a quiet standard. Not because you claim to be better, but because your choices make others reflect on their own. This can feel uncomfortable at times. You may sense that people become careful around you, that they choose their words more thoughtfully, that they hesitate before doing something they know does not sit right. Not because you judged them, but because your presence reminded them of their own values. Allah sometimes uses a person's life as a gentle mirror for others. And a mirror does not speak, it simply reflects. You may wonder why people hold you to a higher level of consistency, why they notice when you slip, even in small ways, why they seem surprised when you make a mistake, as if they expected more from you. This is not always fair, but it often comes with being seen as steady. People begin to associate you with a certain reliability, a certain grounding, a certain sense of, this person will not move easily. And that perception, whether you asked for it or not, turns your everyday behavior into something that carries weight. But this lesson is not meant to place pressure on you, it is meant to place awareness inside you. Because when Allah allows your life to quietly influence others, He also asks you to be careful with how you live it. Not perfect, careful. Careful with your intentions. Careful with your reactions. Careful with how you treat people when you are frustrated, tired, or disappointed. This does not mean you are not allowed to be human. It means you are invited to be honest with yourself about the impact you have. There will be moments when you fall short, when you say something you wish you could take back, when you act in a way that does not reflect the heart you want to carry. And in those moments, something important happens. People see that you are not a symbol, you are a servant. And when you return to Allah with humility, when you apologize, when you correct yourself, you teach a deeper lesson than perfection ever could. You teach repentance, you teach growth, you teach sincerity. This is why Allah does not make a quiet standard out of someone who never struggles. He makes it out of someone who struggles honestly. Someone who falls and stands again. Someone who makes mistakes and seeks forgiveness. Someone who learns and keeps walking. So, if you feel that your life has become something others quietly look at, do not let it turn into pressure in your chest. Let it turn into a prayer in your heart. Ask Allah to keep you sincere even when you are tired. Ask Him to keep you gentle even when you are tested. Ask Him to keep you humble even when others look up to you. Because the true beauty of this lesson is not that people measure themselves against you. The true beauty is that you measure yourself against what Allah asks of you, even when no one else is watching. And in that private space between you and Him, your life becomes not just an example for others, but an act of worship in itself. Your presence brings peace to some and discomfort to others. There is something you may have noticed without ever putting it into words. When you walk into a space, the emotional temperature of the room changes. For some people, it softens. Their shoulders drop. Their voice becomes gentler. They feel like they can breathe more easily. For others, it tightens. They become restless. They shift in their seat. They grow quieter or more guarded. This difference does not come from what you say. It comes from what you represent. In Islam, every heart is on a journey. Some hearts are moving toward awareness, reflection, and closeness to Allah. Other hearts are moving away, distracted by comfort, habit, or avoidance. When a heart that is trying to grow sits near a heart that carries depth, it feels relief. It feels understood. It feels like it has found a place to rest for a moment. But when a heart that is avoiding change sits near that same presence, it feels pressure. Not because you are judging them, not because you are correcting them, but because your way of being quietly reminds them of something inside themselves that they have been trying not to listen to. This is why your presence can feel like safety to one person and like exposure to another. Late at night, when the world becomes quieter and distractions fall away, this becomes even clearer. During the day, people can drown out their inner voice with noise, movement, and busyness. But at night, when it is just them and their thoughts, they become more sensitive to what they feel around them. If you have ever sat with someone in silence and felt that the silence itself became meaningful, that is part of this sign. Some silences feel empty, some silences feel full. A full silence often comes from two hearts that are both willing to be present, even without words. You may notice that people who are sincere, who are trying to become better, often gravitate toward you. They may not say it directly, but they feel supported around you. They feel like they do not have to pretend. They feel like their struggles can exist without being judged. At the same time, you may notice that others keep their distance. They may joke more when you are around, change the subject, or avoid deeper conversation. This is not always rejection. Sometimes it is protection. They are protecting themselves from having to face something they are not ready to face yet. Your presence becomes like a quiet question in the room, not a spoken question, a felt one. Am I living in a way that feels honest to my own heart? For those who are ready to answer, this question feels comforting. For those who are not, it feels uncomfortable. This can be confusing for you. You may wonder why some people open up to you so easily while others seem to close off. You may question if you did something wrong, if you said something offensive, if you made someone uncomfortable on purpose. Often, you did none of those things. You simply showed up as you are. Allah sometimes allows a person to carry a kind of presence that gently reveals the state of the hearts around them. This is not a role to take lightly. It does not mean you are better than anyone. It means you are more aware, and awareness naturally brings contrast. Light does not argue with darkness, it simply shows what is there. But this lesson is not about how others react to you. It is about how you respond to those reactions. When someone feels comforted by you, do you meet them with humility, or do you begin to feel important? When someone feels uncomfortable around you, do you respond with gentleness, or do you become defensive? Allah watches not just the effect you have on others, but the intention behind how you carry that effect. There will be moments when you feel lonely in this role. You may feel like you do not fully belong in either group. Too deep for some, not deep enough for others. Too reflective for the loud, too quiet for the restless. This in-between space can feel heavy. But it is often in this space that a person learns how to rely more on Allah than on people. Because when your presence brings different reactions, you learn that your true grounding cannot come from how others receive you. It must come from why you are here in the first place. So, in your quiet moments, ask Allah for balance. Ask Him to make you a source of peace without becoming a source of pride. Ask Him to make you gentle with those who feel uncomfortable, not distant. Ask Him to protect your heart from becoming hard just because not everyone understands you. Remember, the goal is not to be someone who makes others feel small. The goal is to be someone who makes others feel safe enough to become better. And sometimes, safety does not always feel comfortable at first. Sometimes, it feels like being seen for the first time. So if your presence brings peace to some and discomfort to others, let that be a reminder, not of who you are in their eyes, but of who you are becoming in the sight of Allah. A heart that carries awareness, a soul that walks carefully, and a servant who tries, in quiet ways, to leave a space gentler than they found it. People try to label you because they can't fully understand you. There is a moment in life when you realize that not everyone is trying to know you. Many people are simply trying to place you. They listen to a few of your words, they observe a few of your actions, and then they decide who you are. Quiet, serious, different, too deep, too distant, too intense, too much, too little. These labels often come quickly because the world prefers simple answers to complex hearts. But Allah does not create every soul to be easily explained. You may have noticed that when people talk about you, they often reduce you to one part of who you are. They take a single trait and turn it into your entire identity. If you are quiet, they say you are closed. If you are thoughtful, they say you are heavy. If you are careful with your words, they say you are distant. What they often miss is the space inside you where many things live at once. In Islam, the human heart is not one layer. It is many layers. There is the layer of emotion, the layer of intention, the layer of memory, the layer of fear, the layer of hope. Some people live mostly on the surface of these layers. Others move deeper without even realizing they are doing it. If you are someone who reflects before you speak, who feels before you decide, who notices the weight behind words and actions, your inner world may feel too wide to fit into the simple categories people use. And because they cannot fully understand that world, they try to name it instead. This can be painful. It can feel like being seen, but not truly known. Like being talked about, but not truly heard. You may sit in a room full of people and still feel unseen, because the version of you they carry in their mind is smaller than the person you actually are. Late at night, when you are alone with your thoughts, you may replay moments where you were misunderstood. A joke that landed wrong. A silence that was taken as coldness. A thoughtful pause that was seen as distance. And you may wonder if it would be easier to just become simpler, louder, more predictable. But Allah does not shape every soul to blend in. Some hearts are made to sit with questions longer than others. Some minds are made to wander deeper before they settle. Some spirits are made to carry more awareness, more reflection, more sensitivity to what is happening beneath the surface of life. These qualities often do not fit neatly into the fast, loud, simplified world around you. So people label. Not always out of cruelty, often out of limitation. They label because it helps them feel comfortable. It helps them know how to treat you. It helps them decide how close or how distant to be. But here is the quiet truth. A label is not a definition. It is a shortcut. And Allah does not take shortcuts when He creates a soul. If you find yourself often misunderstood, it may not mean you are doing something wrong. It may mean you are living from a place that others have not yet visited within themselves. This does not make you better. It makes you different. And being different requires patience. Patience with people who will never ask the deeper questions about you. Patience with conversations that stay on the surface. Patience with being seen in parts instead of in fullness. This is where your connection with Allah becomes especially important. Because when people cannot fully see you, you need a place where you are fully known. Allah knows your intentions before they become words. He knows your thoughts before they become decisions. He knows the struggle behind your silence and the care behind your restraint. When the world reduces you to a label, Allah holds you as a whole. This lesson is not meant to push you away from people. It is meant to protect your heart from seeking all of its understanding from them. Not everyone is meant to know you deeply. Some people are meant to meet you briefly. Some are meant to walk with you for a season. Some are meant to see only one side of who you are. And that is not a failure. That is design. Your responsibility is not to explain yourself to everyone. Your responsibility is to be sincere in who you are before Allah. There will be moments when you feel the urge to correct every misunderstanding, to defend every quiet part of yourself, to make sure people see you the way you see you. But sometimes, the greatest peace comes from letting Allah be the one who understands you fully. You can still be kind, you can still be open, you can still be gentle, but you do not have to be simple to be accepted. If this lesson feels close to your heart, let it soften you rather than harden you. Do not let misunderstanding turn into bitterness. Do not let labels turn into walls. Do not let being different turn into feeling superior. Instead, let it turn into humility, because the deeper your inner world becomes, the more carefully you must walk through the outer one. So in your quiet moments, make this a private prayer. Ya Allah, you know who I am better than I know myself. Let me be content with being known by you, even when I am misunderstood by the world. Keep my heart sincere, my intentions clean, and my character gentle, no matter what name people give me. And in that space between you and Allah, you will find a freedom that no label can take away. Before you leave this moment, don't rush back into the noise of the world just yet. Sit with what you felt, because if any part of this message stayed with you, if any sentence felt heavier than the rest, it is not because of my words. It is because Allah allowed your heart to recognize something it already carries. Being chosen was never about being seen. It was about being shaped. Shaped in private. Shaped in silence. Shaped in moments when no one was watching you choose patience over pride, sincerity over showing off, and faith over comfort. The world celebrates what is loud. Allah builds what is lasting. And often, He builds it in places no one else ever visits inside you. So, as you step away from this video, take something with you that no one else can see. A softer heart. A cleaner intention. A quieter walk with Allah. Because the real sign was never how people look at you. The real sign is how carefully you live when only Allah is looking back at you. May He keep you guided in moments when you feel alone. May He steady you in moments when you feel heavy. And may He make your life, in ways you may never fully witness, a source of peace for others. Go gently. The path you are walking is not meant to be rushed.